Hey Catholic Match, the video you're about to see is part of a brand new initiative called Relate, which is the community feature on Catholic Match. If you would like to join this event and events like this live, please check us out at catholicmatch.com/relate or click the link in the description below. Thank you and enjoy the video.
Thank you. Thank you for
All
being
right.
here with us tonight, Mr. Ahlquist. So I have to tell you, I have never heard of G.K. Chesterton before. And I am a big supporter of Catholic radio, EWTN, and I used to work for a couple EWTN affiliates. But the first time I ever heard of him is there's a Chesterton Minute that plays on EWTN quite a bit. The da 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 da. And so that's you. And so I never in my life had heard of G.K. Chesterton. That's my public school, state college education for you. But why? Who is G.K. Chesterton? Let's start there.
Well, first of all, Annie, you don't have to apologize for not having heard of him. That's not your fault that you haven't heard of him. That's definitely the responsibility of those who are in charge of teaching you and bringing you the truth from previous generations. That's the job of education. And if you haven't heard of Chesterton, that's their fault and not yours. But
Thank
I
you.
had the great privilege of trying to revive an interest in this great writer. He was an early 20th century English writer. During his lifetime, was one of the most popular, well-known writers in the whole world. He was very prolific. He wrote for newspapers and magazines, but he also wrote 100 books. He wrote poetry. He wrote novels. He wrote books on history and philosophy and politics and theology and any subject you could name. He also wrote some very famous detective stories featuring a priest detective named Father Brown.
And that was one that surprised me because that's a very popular show. Is that on? I think it's PBS, but I mean, just universally loved and known.
Yeah, the show's been very popular, even though it's departed quite a bit from the original
See that.
idea. But I'll tell you, it gets the main thing right, which is that the priest is the detective, and the priest is a good guy. He's a moral guy. He's a trustworthy guy, and he solves mysteries. They got that part right.
Well, at least they got that part
Yeah.
right. To wonder if G.K. Chesterton was here today. And yeah, I know he saw how his work is being portrayed. If he's just like, come
Well,
on, guys.
there was a Father Brown movie made during his lifetime, and he did see it, and he
Okay.
and he very diplomat. And I have to tell you, that was just called Father Brown. It was based on his first two stories. They managed to completely mess it up. They took out, so much of the original dialogue, which of course is what's charming, is to hear Chesterton's quotations, right? So
Mhm.
they did their very best to screw it up, but Chesterton very diplomatically said, "I thought the acting was quite good."
Oh, isn't that good old Chesterton,
Yeah.
huh? Gilbert. I like that. Well, so how did you come to know G.K. Chesterton? Like, why Chesterton? Why not, C.S. Lewis or Tolkien? Like, what was it about Chesterton?
Annie, I don't know why everybody asks me that question. I always get asked that question, and
It's those of us who never heard of him and are
yeah,
just now reading and learning more.
I will admit the answer is really interesting, but I just don't know why people does anybody ever say, "Well, now why did you start reading C.S. Lewis?
No,
Why
and
did you do
that's fair. That's a
it?"
very fair question.
Yeah.
See, and I guess I don't know, would we say C.S. Lewis is maybe a little more mainstream just because of his? I don't know. That's
Yeah.
how I was introduced, would have been, The Lion, the
Well,
Witch, and the Wardrobe.
to answer your question, I was reading C.S. Lewis. I was a big C.S. Lewis fan. I was a young man. I was still in college. I was reading Mere Christianity probably for the second time, and someone saw me reading Mere Christianity and said, "You like C.S. Lewis?" I said, "Yeah, I love C.S. Lewis." And he said, "Have you ever heard of G.K. Chesterton?" I said,
You're kidding.
"No, I've never heard of G.K. Chesterton." He said, "Well, if you like C.S. Lewis, you'll love G.K.
Love
Chesterton."
him.
And then he said, and this was the grabber. He said, if you read Chesterton, you don't even need to read C.S. Lewis because all of C.S. Lewis is in Chesterton.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was just a completely blasphemous remark, and yet, that's how the seed was planted. It wasn't till about 3 more years after that I picked up my first Chesterton book, and the one I picked up was the one that was so influential on C.S. Lewis's life. The book, The Everlasting Man, is really the book that C.S. Lewis read that made him decide to become a Christian. He said it was the best defense of Christianity he'd ever read. And my first impression was that, yeah, C.S. Lewis got almost all of his arguments from this book. He really did copy Chesterton. So anyways, I fell in love with Chesterton pretty much immediately and went on to go as deep as possible. Had no idea what I was getting into. In fact, that's what C.S. Lewis said about reading Chesterton, because I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. That was his own reflection on having started to read Chesterton, and I didn't know what I was getting into either.
Literally life-changing.
Yeah, it certainly changed my life. Yeah.
Well, and so what were you doing up until that point? You went to college. Were you in education, or how did all of that come to fruition?
No. My great strength in starting the Chesterton Academy and the Chesterton Schools Network is I have no background in education whatsoever. Okay. Yeah, that's what I brought to the table, and I think that's been truly the greatest strength.
That's why it's so successful. Exactly.
we are reforming education, and it's good that I'm not a product of that philosophy. So no, I was about to get married. That's what I was doing. So I read Chesterton on my honeymoon, just like anybody else.
Yeah. This story is just incredible. When I got to show you, Dale, I went to Chesterton Academy in Rochester, New York. We got somebody here. We got some alums. So
that's great. That one's been around for a number of years too. That was started in 2014. That was one of the very first of the second wave of Chesterton academies. We started the first one in 2008, and the other schools that started, the first one started in 2014, and Rochester was one of those schools.
Well, and yeah, I'd be curious. It's anonymous, the person who wrote it, but I love to hear what they're doing today. Because this is probably, kind of blasphemous for me to say, but it's almost like, do you really need college after Chesterton? I feel like, is it dumbing down a little bit? Like you start there. I mean, it depends on where you go to school, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer the question as frankly as I can, Annie, because we do offer a very, very good and outstanding and profound 4-year liberal arts classical curriculum. And it's very true that it's better than most 4-year colleges. It just is. And they will learn more. They'll develop better study habits, and they'll be just better thinkers and wiser young men and women when they graduate from a Chesterton Academy. But there's obviously some of them that are going to go on to do other things, and they want to specialize and become professionals or whatever. And so we've given them the good foundation they need should they decide to continue with their education. But if they decide not to continue with their education, they have a great education. They're ready to become, take on a trade, start a family. They really have a beautiful, solid foundation. They're clear thinkers. They've been exposed to the classics. That's what they're going to hand on to their family.
And isn't that beautiful? So Tony Tibbetts, who runs our events here, if you're a regular here, you know him as one of our event hosts also. But he's, teaching at the one in Jackson, Michigan. And so a couple weeks ago, he was putting together his philosophy curriculum. And I was thinking, philosophy in high school, like I've never heard of that. But how amazing to plant that seed then and to learn about it, during those formative years.
Well, it's essential. And I think one of the main problems with our high schools today is they don't teach philosophy. And philosophy starts with teaching just basic logic. How does logic work? How does rational thinking work? That's how it starts. And then, then you get into, the different philosophical schools. But the point is, we don't teach our young people how to think. They can't think reasonably. They don't know how to exercise the tool of reason simply because they haven't been taught it. When philosophy fell out of the high school curriculums, we started producing students that couldn't think. They are challenged when it comes to using their reason.
Yes.
And philosophy, of course, is directly connected to what they learn in the math class. And all the subjects are connected to each other, but our progressive modern public education separates all the subjects from each other. So our students can't think of they don't understand how one subject is connected to the other. But philosophy is absolutely fundamental, and they get 4 years of it, 4 years. And so they really come out as good thinkers. Chesterton says that our present challenge in the modern world is less a spiritual problem than a mental problem.
And that's a very interesting point, because I guess I would have said spiritual, but the way you just described it, it's like, well, actually, so we're just kind of sheep a little bit, especially high schoolers. Like, it's like, no, follow the shiny object, And so Chesterton actually is like, okay, no, let's think about this. Let's study the grades. And well, I'm going to put this on the screen really quick, because I think this is an interesting question, Dale. And we're going to cover Chesterton Academy, as well as just questions about G.K. Chesterton. So feel free, to those of you watching, post both the questions. But somebody in the audience has a middle school son. What makes Chesterton different from a Catholic high school?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. And that's a fun one to answer. We've already mentioned one of the things. We teach 4 years of philosophy. Most Catholic high schools don't teach any philosophy at all. If they do, it's very limited. But developing faith and reason is what you do when you're developing the minds and forming the minds of young people. Faith and reason. So we really give them the Catholic faith, but not only in the theology class that we teach, and we have 4 years of theology, but we teach the faith in every other subject that we're teaching. Everything is taught from a Catholic perspective. So if you're reading literature, if you're studying history, if you're looking at the sciences, you're looking at what the Catholic Church teaches about these things. So that's the lens we're looking through. And it's not a secular lens at all. There's a really big difference between the Catholic perspective of things than the world's view of things. Yes. And so this is going to help them in their faith, but at the same time, it's going to help them in their thinking. They're going to be able to defend the faith. They're going to be able to speak reasonably about it, but they're going to be able to speak reasonably at all. Okay. And then the other thing, so 4-year philosophy, 4 years of theology, that's one of the first things that sets us apart. The next thing is we have a great emphasis on the arts. It's not that we de-emphasize the sciences and math. They get their full due. But art is not an elective, it's a requirement. So they all learn how to draw and paint. For 4 years, they're in the studio, and they will produce an oil masterpiece by the end of 4 years, copying one of the great masters, because they're studying art. That is one of the classical principles is beauty. It's truth, goodness, and beauty. It's trying to make the word into flesh, trying to make truth manifested. And so we also teach choir for 4 years.
Okay.
And we also teach drama as a requirement. It's not an elective. It's not an after-school activity. It's one of the subjects that the students are required to do for 3 years. They put on 3 plays while they're in a Chesterton Academy. They start with light comedy, so they get used to being on the stage. Then we do a heavy dramatic portrayal of some saint, and then by their senior year, they're performing Shakespeare. These are unforgettable experience for students. And some kids thought they would never be in a play, never could stand up in front of people. They all are doing it at the end of 3 years, and it is life transforming. The other thing that sets us apart from a regular Catholic school, we have daily mass. Daily mass. That's the center of the day. It's not just once a week or once a month. Part of the day is the Eucharist. And most of our schools also offer regular confession too.
And
so
you don't get that at Catholic schools anymore.
That's what we should have at a Catholic school, but those are the big ones right there.
And now that's just so neat. I know. So I'm in North Denver, and we have a lot. It's very focused on STEM. Like that's like the big, acronym word right now. I homeschool my kids, and they do a 2 day a week program at a Christian academy. But one of the classes I was talking to my mom about it, that my 8-year-old is taking, most of it's more, on the classical side of things, but there is a STEM. And she was saying, well, what's STEM? And we were talking about it. It's like, anymore, especially in the public school sphere, we have really abandoned the classics for this STEM, and it is not doing anybody any favors. We're not producing more thoughtful humans that want to go out and change the world with this. Like, it's good to know math. It's good to, what is it? Science, technology, engineering, math. It's good to know all those, but that's not the end all be all. Like, I feel like we're really pushing with society.
Yeah, absolutely. My son, who graduated from Chesterton Academy, he went on to get into a very good engineering school, very hard to
Yeah.
get into, and they told him flat out one of the reasons they accepted him is because they want students who are more than just math and science geeks. They want students who are articulate,
Well-rounded.
who are cultured, who are well-rounded, because the problem in engineering is that most of these guys cannot express themselves. They simply are inarticulate because literature is one of the things they have not studied.
Because they never had it. Well, no, and it does. It just makes you a more well-rounded person when you, like my son right now. It's not Chesterton, obviously, but just some of the books they're reading just in 6th grade is really neat. And it's like, this is really important, the classics. So, and I know in high school we fail our kids, so we're very grateful for you, Dale, and just the
Thank you.
Chesterton Academy. I don't want to completely change gears here, but I'm kind of going in order of the questions. And so this is just about Chesterton in general. But I'll be honest, I've never read Chesterton before. Where does a beginner even start? What do you say?
Well, that used to be one of my least favorite questions, Annie,
Okay.
because every time I recommended a book, I always said, "Well, but it's better if you read this one before that one." And so what I did is I wrote an introductory book to Chesterton, and then I also wrote another introductory book to Chesterton. And actually, one of those is the ones that we use at Chesterton Academy to introduce our 9th graders to Chesterton, who most of whom have never had any exposure to Chesterton. So I wrote a book called Common Sense 101: Lessons from G.K. Chesterton. That's a very good place to start. You can get it from our website at chesterton.org. I would recommend that you don't buy it from a river in South America, because that doesn't do anybody any good to buy it from that river in South America.
So I was just about to ask Maria, if you don't mind, if you can find a link. And I was going to ask, are we going the South America route, or like, is there a better place? Maria, if you get a second, if you can post that in the feed so people can refer to that.
Yeah.
And just the Chesterton.org in general.
Chesterton.org. If you go to Chesterton.com, you get hydraulic valves. So you want to stick with Chesterton.org. Yeah, so that's the really good starting point. And
Okay.
that'll give you a wide exposure to all the different things he wrote about. And then it ends with a list of his books, and you kind of decide which one you want to read next.
To do
after
okay,
that
because
book.
I started with the and now I can't think, but the one about St. Francis of Assisi. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
St.
I know
Francis of
this is
Assisi.
called St. Francis of Assisi.
That's what it's called. Yeah.
But I was like, oh my gosh, I am not smart enough for, like, I gotta start somewhere else. I thought it was gonna be a biography, but it was like very, like, almost like a thought piece. I don't even know how I describe it.
Well, you can't classify any of Chesterton's books as anything. They don't compare with any other book. I mean, his book on
Okay.
St. Francis, you think you're going to start to read a biography, but you're not reading a biography. But you're still learning about St. Francis, but you're learning about mysticism. You're learning about
Yes.
this incredible view of the world, of seeing it upside down, because you see your dependence on God and everything. And it's a spiritual experience to read his book on St. Francis of Assisi. But
Well,
yeah,
I love
once again, you don't know what you're letting yourself in for when you read Chesterton.
so I've got to read your book and then maybe go try, because I feel like I missed a lot, because I was just like, oh, I did not graduate from a Chesterton Academy. Public school. education is not helping in this situation. So I'm going to get your book. I'm looking forward to that.
And where are you going to buy it from, Annie? Tell me where you're going to buy that book from.
Chesterton.org.
Oh, okay, that's good. All
yes,
right.
I can hear your voice in the Chesterton Minute commercials too. Visit Chesterton.org. We got another graduate on here. They don't say where from, but I graduated from Chesterton. Welcome, alumni. I guess we kind of answered this one already, but how did you personally get into Chesterton? Was there a moment when you realized, wow, this guy changed the way I see things? Started on your honeymoon.
Yeah. I mean, I realized right away that I was reading an author unlike any I'd ever read before. He gave me just such a comprehensive view of the world that instead of being narrow, he was just so broad. He pulled so much together. And of course, the intellectual fireworks are great. And the wit, a lot of really funny lines. But what comes through the most as you continue to read Chesterton is his joy and his goodness. That's what you're drawn to. You're reading someone who's just not only being totally honest, but he's writing from a perspective of truth and goodness. And that is so appealing. You know right away, this is not an arrogant person who's writing this. This is someone who's probably got a mystical connection to God.
Well, and I was just thinking, do you think he'll become a saint someday, Dale?
I do, Annie. I do.
Isn't that
have you seen those tiny saints? Those little things, the little key fobs, they're little tiny Saint
Augustine. Oh yeah. I think they're called tiny saints, right?
Yeah, they're called tiny saints.
Yeah.
They've already made one for Chesterton, even though he's not canonized. But there is a tiny Saint G.K. Chesterton. He's got his little cigar and everything. Yeah.
That's a sign of things to come. That's really neat.
Yeah. What happened here?
Well, and then show us.
There it is. You see it there?
That is so fun. Well, if that's not a sign of things to come, too.
it absolutely is.
Really neat.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the one, too, like the biographer that everyone talks to as we're getting ready, for his canonization. So you're going to be very busy.
Well, I'm busy right now. I'm talking on CatholicMatch, so that's busy.
You are so busy. So I know I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I know just everything, reading your bio. I was like, oh man, I'm exhausted. I'm just reading this. What are some of your favorite G.K. Chesterton quotes? That's probably one that's like, oh, how do I narrow that down?
Yeah. So, Chesterton, you have to understand he's one of the most quotable writers in the English language. We have a whole magazine, of course, devoted to Chesterton, Gilbert magazine. You can also get that from Chesterton.org. And every issue has 4 quote blocks in it of different subjects. So it's just always quotable. But, I'll give you some of the more famous ones. And, I don't know. I have ones I like, and I have ones I really like, and some I like even more than that. But, one of his most famous quotes is on the back of my business card. The Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It's been found difficult and left untried.
Can you say that one more time? Because I'm like, my mind cannot.
All right, now pay attention, Annie.
I'm listening.
The Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It's been found difficult and left untried.
See, that's when you almost have to kind of a Lectio Divina kind of thing, where you just.
It is. And you can do that with a Chesterton quote. You can spend the rest of the morning contemplating it and writing about it. But here are some other easy ones. Chesterton says the truth must be stranger than fiction because we've made fiction to suit ourselves.
That's good.
That's good. Or the Bible tells us to love our enemies and to love our neighbors because generally they're the same person.
Yeah, that's He had a great sense of humor. I feel like we don't get that anymore, do we?
We don't.
Age. Yeah. Even the late night talk show hosts aren't funny. You just don't see humor like that. Just quick wit, and it's not a thing anymore.
That's part of the reasons for his revival is that he's got these great one-liners. They're just fantastic one-liners, and he works well in memes. He works very well in memes. Here's a couple more. He says, men will not dispute about what they call evil, they'll dispute about which evils are excusable.
See, that's another one you kind of have to
Yeah, you have to.
ponder.
Yeah, but this one you don't have to ponder. Angels fly because they take themselves lightly.
I like that one. I like, if only we all did that more too, huh?
Amen. Amen.
Amen to that. Amen to that. No, I'm sure you could write a whole quote book on that too, huh? And just
Yeah, we're kind of putting together the ultimate Chesterton quote book. There
yes,
have been books of Chesterton quotations which are they're just all delightful, but we're trying to put together a really good one, by subject. And it's one of our projects.
so do
You
you
know,
have a
in the
guilty
meantime, get the magazine because it's full of good quotes every 2 months.
now? Okay, I was just gonna say, is that quarterly or yeah, how often does that
Yeah,
publish? So
six issues a year.
6 issues a year. Okay, chesterton.org. And then I'm assuming too, I was gonna ask you, you have an email list, so people can stay on
Right.
top of what you
Yeah,
guys are
yeah,
doing.
yeah. They can sign up and get on our regular contact list. Absolutely.
Very good. So chesterton.org, everyone. That's easy to remember too. Not .com. That was something STEMmy sounding. Hydraulic something I can't remember now, but
That's right. What's STEMmy?
it sounded very STEMmy. Did you ever think that the school idea would spread so far? What do you think Chesterton himself would say if he saw it? I like that.
Well, let's answer the second question first. I don't think Chester could ever have believed that he would have been the inspiration for something that has grown so large. I mean, he did have to deal with the fact that he was famous during his lifetime. He was a very humble man.
I was just
He
going to ask if
he
he was
did not like the fact that he got so much attention, but he knew that because he got attention, he could do good things with that. And so he used the public platform that he had to speak the truth, both as a writer and as a speaker. And so, but when he toured America 2 times, he toured other European countries, and everywhere he went, he was just immensely popular. Big crowds came to see him, and he was always just in disbelief that so many people would come to hear him speak. He couldn't believe
Isn't
it.
that neat?
Yeah, and
This
so
is why
there
he's a saint in the making too. Just
yeah,
that.
absolutely. His humility is really goes strong with him. And as for our own, vision, we set out to start up one school. That was our goal. We just wanted to start one school, and now there are 70. And so
Was
that's
that so you said your son graduated. So was this kind of in the back of your mind for, okay, I want my child to have this kind of education? Like, is that kind of where it came from, Dale?
no, Annie. It wasn't in the back of
Mhm.
our mind. It was in the front of our mind. That's why we
Yes,
started the school. Was for
yes.
our own kids. We knew we didn't like any of the options that were presently being offered. There were good Catholic schools, but none of them were classical. None of them had the rigorous curriculum that we were looking for, and none of them were affordable either. And we wanted a school that had a great curriculum that was really faithfully Catholic and that was affordable. And the only way we could do that was to make one.
Was to make a school. And that's the thing, it's really sad with Catholic schools anymore because I feel like with high schools, especially, it's more like a prep school and it's not even Catholic families going. And, granted, they don't really like, we were talking about earlier, they don't even offer the mass like maybe once a week because, it's not really
Right.
appealing to the Catholic families like Chesterton does.
Yeah, it's a real problem with some of these schools, and people are just aware of it. That explains the growth of the new schools all around the
Mhm.
country. Is that
And they
people?
are more affordable. That's what's
Yeah,
so neat too. Because I know in our homeschool community, a lot, because usually you're thinking, oh, high school's I'm not sending my kids, I'm homeschooling my kids during high school. But it's like, once this Chesterton, Our Lady's Seat of Wisdom is the academy by us, we were talking backstage, but it is affordable and you make it so families, there's scholarships, there's opportunity,
yeah.
you're making it available, readily available, where these kids can have that kind of education where they're not going to get it at other private schools.
No, that we've been really blessed to see how accessible the schools have been and how well they've done in all these parts of the country. Yeah, and now in other countries too.
And that was 2008 when it started,
The
correct? So it'd
first one
be
in 2008, Minneapolis. The second ones didn't start till 2014.
okay.
And since 2014, which is what, 11 years ago,
Hmm.
70 schools have started in just 11 years.
So it'll be amazing over the next 11 years,
Yeah,
at least double that, I would think.
yeah, I
So,
think so. I think so.
well, we'll have you back then. Well, hopefully before that. Let's not wait 11 years. But as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, that's a long time. I want to talk to you before that. Um, what's one piece of advice from G.K. Chesterton that you think single Catholics today could benefit from?
Now, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that one. That's a very good question. Um, you know, uh, Chesterton is a very romantic writer. He does write about romance quite a bit. Romance is one of those classical things. Um, the hero trying to protect the maiden, or the hero searching for the maiden, and the maiden in needing protection, the maiden choosing who's worthy of her. These are great romantic themes, and Chesterton argues that these are all very true. Still, the reason why these things appeal to us from 100 years ago, from centuries ago, is because they are timeless truths. And the single person has just a lot to learn from classical romance, from these romantic tales. They teach men how to be men and women how to be women. They teach chivalry. They teach modesty. Uh, they teach what heroism really is, and also what sacrifice really is. And for people who are in the single life still, to know those things is going to help them choose a mate a lot easier, and with confidence, because they know who they're going to be worthy of and who's going to be worthy of them. uh, and so that all those romantic themes are worth studying, um, from the single Catholic.
I love that. And I love how I feel like traditional values are kind of making a comeback now too. And I think it is because we're starting to, because I'm kind of a middle of the road millennial, I guess. I was born in 1990, but I feel like Gen Z is really craving that, because there's like the whole, trad wife hashtag whatever. But they're really starting to crave that more. And I feel like Chesterton and people like that who are encouraging, well, you too, Dale, but encouraging us to return to the classics and to tradition. Like we need it. We crave that.
Yeah. Well, one of Chester's great points, and I think it still helped form him as a writer and a thinker, is to warn people that fashions just don't last. Fashions are always out of fashion right away. And it's the traditional truths that stay from generation to generation. And he just says never get swept away by these things. One of his great quotes, Andy, great quotes: "A dead thing goes with the stream, only a living thing can go against it."
That's beautiful. And that's another one I'll have to think about a little bit more, but that's beautiful. And I love that. I like how you said that with the fashions going in and out, but no, traditions will remain, and thank goodness for that. Our
Mhm.
society needs more of it and more of Chesterton. This one's kind of funny, Dale. Who was the person who recommended Chesterton to you? Just some random guy walking by?
It was not a random guy walking by. It was someone that, most people don't know who he is anymore, but at one time he was very popular. See, I grew up evangelical. I was a Baptist. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I'm a convert because of reading Chesterton. But my sister was married to a very famous Jesus rock singer at the early days of what's called contemporary Christian music now, but then it was called Jesus rock. He was a rock and roll singer who sang about Jesus, and he
Okay.
was kind of the pioneer for doing it. His name was Larry Norman, and
Okay. Do we have any Larry Norman fans in the crowd?
if they do, I'll be really amazed and pleased. But
Oh, maybe some other, yeah, converts or yeah. That's
yeah,
oh my gosh. So he is the one that turned you on to G.K. Chesterton.
yep.
How amazing. And so are they, did you say, sorry, former husband, or are they still
Yeah,
together?
he's no longer living. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
Sure.
that. Okay. Well, gosh, what a seed he planted. I'm sure he was just like some like quick, like, "Ah, I'm just going to say it, not think anything else about it." But
Yeah, it's one of those little things. Of course, for years afterwards, before he died, I said, he says, I can't believe what you've done. I said, well, I said, you created a monster that day when you told me to
this is on you.
do
No, that's amazing how just one passing, moment, fleeting moment, just how much it can change your life and the world with what you're doing, Dale, in your instance. Mary Alice is one of our regulars. Hi, Mary Alice. Dale, where would you recommend for we ladies to go to meet decent Catholic men? There's no one at work, no one at church. What are we to do?
Oh, God bless you, Mary Alice. Thanks for
Mary Alice
asking
is
that
the
question,
best.
man. When I come to Columbus, I hope to see you. Okay, and then we can talk some more about this person. We have a Chesterton Academy in Columbus, so I'm sure I'll be visiting again there. You have a great bishop there, by the way. Well, yeah, if there's no one at church, I mean, that's the first place I'd recommend is meeting Catholic men at church. And of course, you're already on Catholic Match, which is, it's a great resource. I know lots of couples that have met on Catholic Match. It's a wonderful thing, but you have touched on the problem that we don't have a society anymore where people can freely gather to meet. We live in a very isolated society. It's strange how that works. We've lost basically the town square,
Mhm.
and these were some of the things that Chester was seeking to protect was that small town and localism. Yeah, first of all, this is going to be very uh, trite advice, because you probably heard so much of this before, Mary Alice. But you really have to pray about it, to pray that God will bring that person into your life, because God does have a plan for you to meet the right person for your life. And then you do have to talk to friends who know that that's what you're looking for. You're hoping to meet a decent man, because some of those people know who those decent men are, and they can make those introductions. So just try to widen your own Catholic circles as wide as you can to meet more people, but just have an attitude of prayer and receptiveness, and be willing to accept a surprise in your life, something that you did not expect.
I like that a lot. Hopefully that helps, Mary Alice. Do you have any plans to visit Columbus anytime? Did you say
It's
you did just at some point?
Yeah, I actually was there not too long ago, but I have a feeling I'm going to be back again, because they've got a growing school there, and there's other activities going on, and just throughout Ohio. We have 4 schools in Ohio right now. So
Gosh, that's amazing.
yeah.
With more to come, I'm sure too.
Well,
So
who knows? Yeah.
I mean, the Holy Spirit, man, no, he's gonna keep this growing, Dale. But what is it? Chesterton.org. You do have an email list. I'm assuming, does that say where you're going as well? Where you'll be next?
Yeah, well, in theory, we have all those things up on our website. In theory,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, Mary Alice, the other thing is, join the Chesterton Society. Go to chesterton.org and come to a Chesterton conference. We have Chesterton conferences every summer, and we have had people meet at Chesterton conferences who have gotten married.
Now,
So
okay,
there's the most practical advice I can give you, Mary Alice.
what is
God
the
bless you.
Chesterton Society?
Yeah,
Tell us more.
so when you if you go to the Chesterton website, you can become a member. Yeah, that's how you get the magazine, is by being a member of the society. And we put on different events. One of the big ones we put on is a summer conference, and people come from all over the country. Great speakers, great fun. It's one of the most enjoyable events there is. If you've talked with anyone who's been to a Chesterton conference, they will tell you that was the most fun I've ever had.
Does it change the location
Yeah,
every
yeah,
year?
we go all the way. We're going to be at Ave Maria in Florida next June.
Oh, hey, who doesn't want to go to Florida?
There you go.
No, I'm getting on after this. So yeah,
Well,
guys, Chesterton.org. Let's have a Catholic match meetup and
I'm
let's go meet down in St. Augustine.
I'm hoping to meet Mary Alice down there next June. I'll tell you that.
Yes. So Mary Alice, yeah, check their website. Let's start looking at tickets here. No, Mary Alice, she's wonderful. She's one of our regulars. So we really enjoy and I appreciate the question, Mary Alice. Thank you. Somebody said that is amazing about the art, drama, and choir that is part of the curriculum. Does someone play pipe organ for the mass?
Sometimes, but we usually just have Gregorian chant at our mass, a cappella.
Okay.
The
And I've been
students
well, oh, go ahead.
students learn it. We do Novus Order masses. They're not Latin masses, but they're very reverential, and but the students learn the Latin chants, and that's the music. Our daily mass is really well attended by folks from the community because it's such a beautiful reverential mass, and they love the chants.
Well, absolutely. And I have been so bad because I have three kids, and this is no excuse, Dale, but I know at Our Lady Seat of Wisdom in North Denver, they were at our church for a while and they just bought a building. So now I'm like, well, shoot, I missed my opportunity to go to daily mass with them because that's just down the road. But okay, so that is usually open to the public though, where you can go to their services and pray with them, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Mary Alice also asked, "What's the name of or the title of Chesterton's book about Saint Francis?" It's just
Just say Francis of Assisi. That's the name of it. Yeah.
and I got it on it wasn't Libby, but it was one of the library apps, I think Hoopla. If you have access to that, I did the audio, Mary Alice. So you can buy the books. Do you sell, I guess, Dale, do you guys sell the books on Chesterton.org or do they go somewhere else if they want to buy some
No, we sell just virtually everything that's written by
okay.
Chester about Chester. We could probably get it through our website. Yeah.
Okay, so check there first. Someone asked, is there a school uniform?
Yes. Yeah, we have a. It's pretty standard across the whole network. Some local schools do a slight variation on it, but it's white button-down shirt and necktie for the boys, and skirts for the girls, and white blouses, and they often wear sweaters or blazers with the Chesterton Academy logo on them, and uniforms. There's some kids that push back for a while, but once they accept it, it's just the easiest thing in the world because they don't have to think about what they're going to wear to school that day. They just put on their uniform. Everybody is the same, and we give them a dress up day once a month, and then they actually do. We call it more formal than normal, and so then they bring it up a notch. And then there's houses in the school too, so we use the house system. So once a month they can wear their house T-shirt instead. So.
That's really neat. I just think it takes the pressure off too, because I feel like
Oh
high
yeah.
school kids have enough pressure as it is, so not to have to, wear whatever the latest trend is to fit in. Like everyone, like you said, it's the same.
We had one girl who kicked back for 4 years. At the end of her senior year, she said to me, "Dr. Ahlquist, I want to thank you for the uniform policy. It makes the most sense in the world."
It took 4 years. Like, yes.
Yeah, it took 4 years, but she totally admitted it at the end. Yeah.
Well, at least she saw it. So
Yeah.
she saw what everyone else was seeing there. Here's a good one from Rod. If Chesterton were alive today, what hot button issue would he be most concerned about? I like that a lot.
Yeah. What's so interesting is that Chesterton predicted almost everything that's going on today. He just saw it coming. And one of the things he saw coming, was the scourge of abortion. And he would never not talk about that if he were around today. But he also brought up something, the thing that led to abortion, which is contraception. And everything that Pope Paul VI wrote about in Humanae Vitae in 1968, Chesterton wrote about all those things, a generation earlier. Everything that the Pope said in that document, Chesterton said, and predicted what would happen. He predicted that contraception would lead to abortion. It would lead to infanticide. It would lead to more marital infidelity. It would lead to sexual perversion and divorce. Those are all things the Pope said.
all
And
the norms of today,
yeah, but
unfortunately.
Chesterton wrote about all that already. So, he said the next great, this is in 1926, and he said the next great heresy is going to be an attack on morality, especially on sexual morality. And he
Well,
was
now it's just
absolutely right.
what, a generation later?
That
Not
was
even when it started.
1926, he wrote that. Yeah.
Gosh. No, that's very sad.
Yeah.
He foresaw it coming, and look at us today,
Yeah.
100 years later. And that's a short time in the grand scheme of things, and just how far we have fallen.
Amen.
We are
Amen.
not perfect, but oh, are there any schools in Canada?
Yes, there's right now there's 3, I think, in Canada. There's one in well, then maybe there's 4. There's one in Ottawa and Peterborough, not far from there. There's one in Edmonton,
Okay.
and I think something's going in Toronto, but I can't be absolutely. There's at least 3 in Canada.
Okay. And then what were the other countries, Dale?
All right, you ready?
Put on the spot. Okay, yeah. How
Okay.
many?
So open right now. Italy, Sierra Leone, West Africa,
Okay.
Australia, and then opening within the next year, Argentina, Brazil, Japan, Spain, South Africa, and Nigeria.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
So, are we just missing Antarctica, I guess, continents wise? Are you on every other continent?
Yeah.
We gotta get on that. I'm not somebody, but it is every other
Oh,
continent, right? Is that 6?
we've got a team working on these things. Yeah.
Okay, good.
No,
Yeah.
no. The amazing thing, Annie, is that all these schools, all of them have come to us. We've never gone out and solicited and say, you need to start a school here. We don't have people out there saying, have you ever thought of starting a Chesterton Academy? No, they find out about us and they come to us. And that's the biggest thrill there is
Well,
from all these other countries too.
absolutely. No, your reputation, I know, exceeds you. That's wonderful. Then that helps with like marketing and whatnot too, huh? When they when they
And
hear all the good things. And I mean, parents, like we talked about at the beginning, they're just craving that classical, a good education for their kids. And that's just hard to find. And one that's affordable too.
yeah, it's a good package. It really is.
A
Well,
good
someday
package.
we'll figure out how to market it. Yeah.
Yes. I don't even think you have to. What would you say to women that say chivalry is dead and society doesn't need it anymore because women can do anything that men can do? What would you say to women that prefer to spend time primarily with other women instead of getting to know men?
Well, Chesterton would argue that women have always been able to do anything that men can do. That's not a new thing. But there's one thing that women can do that men can't do, and that's have babies. That's what has set women aside. And he says feminism was an attack on motherhood, and
Yes.
that's why he was such a critic of feminism. But as far as men like to be with other men, and women like to be with other women. They need that time with members of their own sex. There's a certain time of confidence and special joy that just is exclusive to when men are with men and women are with women. So that is actually a natural occurrence. There's nothing strange about that at all.
It can be.
The hardest thing in the world is for a man to be with a woman, and that's the big challenge of a marriage. Is that you're bringing together the 2 most incompatible beings in the world, a man and a woman, and that's what marriage is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's such an interesting and timeless struggle. And Chesterton says, the problem with marriage, he says, is no one's ever survived it.
Is he the one that coined that? Is that because I've heard that before? Was he the one that said that?
Yeah.
See, at that, and then the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
That one too. I was like,
truth is stranger than fiction is a common phrase, but Chesterton says he explains why. Why is truth stranger than fiction? because we've made fiction to suit ourselves. You know, we
Because
invent fiction, but truth, we didn't invent truth.
that's
And that's why
okay. So he just
it's always
expanded.
unexpected,
Okay.
right? Yeah, it's
But
always
no,
unexpected.
and that's a good point. Like he explains why what that means. And yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have 5 minutes left. So we're getting sorry. I want to make sure we got at least one from everyone here. Um Mary Alice said, funny you should say that. Talking to friends, one lady asked me, why do I want to be married? That's kind of yeah, nobody gets out alive, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
No one survives. But well, Dale, okay, so we talked about I guess the Chesterton Society. So that's chesterton.org if anyone is interested. You have the magazine, you have the conferences, and just I guess you're learning just more about Chesterton, or I guess what all, we talked about some of the things with it, but what all do you get in the Chesterton Society when you join?
Well, I mean, it is a perspective on the whole world, on the whole modern world. You know, it's on art and politics and philosophy, everything that's faced in the modern world. We show that Chesterton's perspective from 100 years ago is prophetic and still profoundly right, and so we just enjoy listening to what he has to say, because he wrote so much, he's so prolific that we just never run out of material, and so it's a thrill to see how timely he is and how prophetic and up to date he is and all these things.
Even a
But,
hundred
but
years
you know,
later.
and so there's this light and happy quality to him. There's this really profound and prophetic quality to him as well. And of course, he brings people into the Catholic Church, just like he's done with me. You know, people read him and they become Catholic. A grace comes over them that is very special and quite unique. The way he draws people towards the church. He himself was a convert, and so he went through that too. And you know, I think that if the sainthood does, you know, if the cause is opened up, I think it's really gonna draw people to a deeper appreciation of the importance of lay saints, of people who have lived in a secular setting and have witnessed been witnesses for the gospel, even though they were among us in a secular setting, and that's what lay people have to do. And I think Chesterton is very much an inspiration for us as lay people.
I love it. So chesterton.org for that. Dale, where are you headed next?
Okay, let's see.
See if you're going to anyone in the audience's town.
Oh yeah, I lost my calendar because I had to clear everything to be on this show. So
I'm sorry. I didn't know
I
off
can't
the top
access
of
my
your head. Do
calendar.
you know where you're headed
I'm going
next?
to I'm going to a bunch of places in September. I'm going to a bunch of places in October, and I'm going to a bunch of places in November.
Beautiful.
All right.
Okay. Chester, okay, I'm on chesterton.org. I'm seeing, do you have a schedule? I'm looking at it.
No, it's going to be on there. I said, I said theoretically it's on there. It's not actually on there. We're going to get that
Man,
because
okay.
Annie, you said we should have it on there, and you and about 1,000 other people told us we should have it on there. And yeah, we're going to get it on there. You bet we are.
Beautiful. So when we have you back in 11 years, we'll check back to see if that schedule is up there. Deal. Well, Dr. Ahlquist, thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions and for being with us this evening. This has just been such an honor for me, and just we really, really appreciate your time. So thank you.
You've been a delightful hostess, and thanks for your fine questions and your great enthusiasm. And God bless all the work you guys are doing at Catholic Match.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, let's have you back soon, please. Tony will be in touch. So yeah, Tony is, I guess, would he be one of your employees? Would we call him that?
Each school is independently run, but he's
okay.
He's part of the network, so he's one of my associates, right?
Very good. So yeah, Tony will be in touch. But yeah, thank you. God bless Dr. Ahlquist. And yeah, have a good rest of your weekend.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye.